She walked in with quiet grace. No entourage, no designer flash, just presence. But to the hotel manager, she was invisible, or worse, a problem. What he didn't know. The woman he tried to dismiss didn't just belong there, she built it. Brick by brick, dollar by dollar, and the reckoning was already in motion. The revolving doors whispered shut behind her as Ava Richardson stepped into the lobby of the Haven Crest Grand. Sunlight spilled across polished marble, catching the edges of gold-trimmed columns and casting long reflections under velvet lounge chairs. The chandelier above shimmered like a held breath. Everything was curated, immaculate, and guarded. Ava didn't hesitate. She walked with the ease of someone who had nothing to prove and everything already earned. A navy blazer hugged her frame, crisp white blouse, leather flats. Her coiled hair was pulled into a low twist, and a single pearl sat in each ear. No oversized bag, no jangling keycard lanyard, just presence. The kind that made people look twice without knowing why. Behind the front desk, Martin Hale watched. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair slicked back into submission, cufflinks gleamed, tie tight. He didn't recognize her. That was the first problem. She hadn't checked in, hadn't passed through valet, hadn't been met by anyone. She simply appeared. And in a place like this, people didn't just appear. Not unless something was off. She paused briefly at a floral arrangement, orchids and pale hydrangeas in a glass vase. She touched nothing, just looked, then turned toward the elevators. Martin's brow furrowed. No room key, no bellhop, no ID, and still she walked like she belonged. It rubbed at something in him, something old and unspoken. He leaned slightly forward, fingers brushing the edge of the desk. "Keep an eye on her," he said quietly, to the concierge beside him. The younger woman followed his gaze, hesitated, then nodded. Ava continued across the lobby, calm, deliberate. Every step was measured, every glance met without apology. She wasn't here to be seen, she was here to see. Martin stepped out from behind the desk. "Excuse me, ma'am," he called, his voice warm but firm, the way someone might address a stranger on the verge of trespassing. "Can I help you with something?" Ava stopped. She turned slowly. No fear, no flinch, just a raised brow, and a slight tilt of the head, as if curious who, exactly, he thought he was addressing. "I'm here on business," she said simply. Martin gave a tight smile. Guests are required to check in before accessing the elevators. Ava glanced toward the front desk, then back at him. "I'm aware." Still, he didn't ask her name, didn't check the system, just stood there, folding his arms like a gatekeeper. And she let him, for now, because this wasn't a confrontation. Not yet. It was a test. One Martin Hale had no idea he was failing. Ever felt someone judge you before you even opened your mouth? Tell us in the comments. And subscribe, because the real story is just getting started. Martin took a step closer, hands clasped behind his back like a school principal, ready to scold. His smile was thin, professional, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm afraid I'll need to see a reservation, ma'am," he said, emphasizing the last word, with just enough weight to turn it sour. "Hotel policy." Ava stood still, no tension in her posture, no defensiveness in her tone, just steady, unbothered calm. "I'm not here to check in," she said evenly. Martin raised an eyebrow. "Then you're here to meet someone." "I'm here on business," she repeated. He offered a practiced chuckle, just short of patronizing. "Unless that business includes a reservation or a staff escort, I'll need to ask you to wait outside. We can't have guests confused or—" He paused, scanning her from head to toe, distracted. She blinked once. No shift in expression, no bite in return. "I'd like to speak with the general manager." Martin's smirk came fast. "You're speaking to him." Silence. Not awkward, just loaded. Ava tilted her head slightly, eyes calm. "Then perhaps you can assist me directly." His stance stiffened. "Ma'am, I've already asked you to wait outside. We can't allow unauthorized access to guest floors. I'm sure you understand." The words were smooth, but the meaning was blunt. "You're not supposed to be here." A few guests glanced up from their phones. One lingered by the front entrance, pretending to study the city map on the wall. The air in the lobby thinned. Ava didn't move. She didn't plead or explain. She didn't offer a name or a title. Because she knew the truth. If she looked different, if her skin said something else, he might have already offered her water and a seat. Martin mistook her quiet for hesitation. He leaned in slightly, voice lower. If you're here to sell something, or if you're lost, I'd be happy to call you a cab. Ava didn't blink. I'm exactly where I need to be. Martin sighed. Look, I don't want to call security, but I will. Please exit the lobby. Still, he hadn't asked her name. Still, he hadn't touched his computer. Still, he hadn't realized the hole he was digging. Ava stepped forward, just enough that he noticed. Just enough that everyone watching leaned in a little closer. You're making assumptions, she said, voice low, but precise. And those assumptions are going to cost you. Ever seen someone mistake control for competence? Tell us what you would have done, and stay subscribed. Because the deeper the denial, the harder the fall. The marble floor seemed to hold its breath. Ava didn't move. She didn't flinch. Around her, the lobby shifted, quietly at first. A woman near the concierge paused mid-check-in. A couple near the lounge turned slightly in their seats. One guest angled their phone subtly, pretending to scroll, but the camera was clearly rolling. Something was happening, and people knew it. Martin didn't. Or rather, he refused to. His voice rose, not a shout, but sharpened just enough to cut through the murmurs. Ma'am, I've asked you to leave. This is private property, and we reserve the right to deny access. Ava clasped her hands in front of her, not in surrender, in clarity. She met his eyes with the patience of someone who had been here before, too many times. You're certain you want to escalate this? She asked quietly. Martin laughed, but it was brittle now. Escalate? You're the one refusing to leave. Another phone lifted from behind a column. A soft ding from a message sent. The moment had moved beyond the front desk. People were watching, recording, remembering. Ava slipped her phone from her blazer. No rush, no threat. Just motion. Her fingers danced over the screen. Calm, efficient. She wasn't calling for help. She was calling in the truth. Martin squinted. Who are you texting? She didn't look up. Someone who understands what happens when assumptions go unchecked. He scoffed. Unless that message includes a room number or a departure time, it's not going to help you. The concierge shifted uncomfortably behind the desk. Her eyes flicked from Ava to Martin, then down again. Staff knew, they always knew when the script was about to flip. Ava slid her phone back into her pocket. Still calm, still unmoved. You think you're managing a lobby, she said softly. But what you're really managing is exposure. Martin bristled. Security, he called, tapping his earpiece. We have a situation at the front desk. A ripple moved through the room. More phones lifted now. More guests stood. No one spoke, but the silence felt electric. Loaded. Ava didn't shift. She didn't need to. The message had been sent. Not the one on her phone, the one written all over the manager's face. The fear behind the arrogance. The dread behind the control. Because deep down, Martin Hale had the sinking feeling he had just made a mistake he couldn't walk back. And Ava, she wasn't here to argue. She was here to let the truth unfold. Loudly, publicly, and without lifting her voice. Ever watched someone tighten their grip right before it all slips away? Tell us in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time, because what's coming next will change everything. The hush came before the doors even opened. Then movement. A sleek black sedan slid to the curb outside, barely audible over the soft jazz drifting through the lobby speakers. Two figures emerged. Charcoal suits. Measured steps. No hesitation, no confusion. They walked like people used to saying things once, and being heard the first time. The security guard standing near Ava straightened. So did the concierge. Even the bellhop, halfway through pushing a luggage cart, paused mid-step. Martin didn't look. Not at first. His eyes were still locked on Ava, voice still sharp with the performance of control. You're still refusing to leave. Ma'am, this is your last. Excuse me, a smooth voice cut through. Martin turned. The suits were already at the desk. Is there a problem with Miss Rhodes? The man asked. His voice calm, clipped, professional. Martin blinked. Sorry, who? The woman beside him stepped forward. Camille Rhodes. The owner of this hotel. The silence hit like a dropped wine glass. Someone near the concierge audibly gasped. A man at the lounge dropped his phone to his lap. The young receptionist behind the desk stopped pretending to type. Martin's mouth opened slightly. He turned, slowly toward Ava, still standing, still poised, still silent. His face paled. The name hit him like a gust of cold air. Rhodas. The founder, the name etched on every executive memo. The face featured in Forbes. The billionaire, who built a hospitality empire, without ever needing to raise her voice. I wasn't aware, he stammered. Clearly, the assistant said. Martin's hands fumbled across the desk, searching for somewhere to land. His voice came out weak. There must have been some confusion. She didn't give her name. She didn't say. She didn't have to, the woman said sharply. Because you never ask. A ripple moved through the room again. This time, sharper. A guest whispered. She's the owner. A phone caught it. So did the moment. Ava. Camille took one small step forward. Not to threaten, not to gloat. Just to arrive. Fully, finally, her presence now undeniable. Martin's posture sagged. The authority had drained from his face. Miss Rhodas, he murmured, trying to recover. If I'd known, but you didn't, Camille said, finally breaking her silence. Her voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. And that's the point. His lips parted again, as if to defend, to pivot, to rewrite the last 10 minutes. But no words came, because in that moment, it wasn't just Camille who saw him, it was everyone. Ever seen a man realize he tried to throw out the woman who signs his paycheck? Drop your reaction in the comments. And stay tuned, because this reckoning isn't over. Martin stood frozen behind the desk, as if still hoping this was some elaborate misunderstanding that could be smoothed over with the right words. But Camille wasn't giving him that out. She didn't move closer, she didn't raise her voice, she just looked at him, steady, quiet, unshaken. You judged me, she said, calm, measured. The second I walked in, he opened his mouth, then closed it again. His hands twitched slightly on the desk's polished edge, desperate to grab something, an excuse, a lifeline, a way back. I didn't know who you were, he tried, his voice thin now, nothing like the man who'd barked about security minutes earlier. Camille nodded slowly. That's exactly the problem. Guests leaned forward in their seats, some still filming, some just watching. Because this wasn't a confrontation anymore, it was a reckoning. You didn't ask my name, you didn't check your system, you didn't offer help. You made a decision based on how I looked, she said. And you acted like that decision made you right. Martin swallowed hard. His face was losing color by the second. Camille turned slightly, motioning to the assistant beside her. Show me the footage. The tablet came up without hesitation. A few taps, and there it was, grainy lobby camera footage looping silently. Martin approaching her, gesturing toward the door, her standing still, calm, composed, never raising her voice. He watched himself unfold in real time, and he winced. You tried to remove me, Camille said softly, publicly, without cause, without apology. Martin glanced at the guests now. Their expressions said everything. Disbelief, quiet anger, even shame on his behalf. I was doing my job, he muttered, barely audible. Camille tilted her head. If your job is to turn people away before you even learn who they are, then your job is finished. The words dropped like a gavel, gasps echoed. The bellhop at the wall exhaled visibly. The receptionist behind the desk looked like she might cry. Martin's shoulders sagged. Miss Rhodas, please. I didn't mean I know, she said, her voice soft but final. You didn't mean to be seen. He flinched. No words, no rebuttal, just silence. You're dismissed, she added, effective immediately. A beat, then another, and then the first clap. It came from the lounge, a suited man with a knowing nod, then another, a woman near the floral arrangement, then a few more, soft, respectful, real. It wasn't celebration, it was recognition. Camille didn't bow, didn't smile. She simply turned toward the desk and looked at the young woman who had stood silently through it all. Because the next chapter wasn't about punishment, it was about who would rise next. Ever seen a man's power dissolve in the face of truth?
Let us know in the comments, and keep watching. Camille's not done yet. A week later, the world was still talking. The video from the Haven Crest lobby had gone viral, not because it was loud, but because it wasn't. No shouting, no chaos, just one woman standing still while a man unraveled under the weight of his own assumptions. Now, Camille Rodas sat beneath studio lights, calm, composed. A tailored navy suit, barely there makeup, nothing flashy, nothing performative, just presence. The same quiet presence that had once brought a luxury hotel lobby to a standstill. Across from her, the news anchor leaned forward, voice steady but reverent. "Miss Rodas, the incident last week sparked a global conversation. Millions have watched how you handled it. What message do you want them to take away?" Camille didn't hesitate. "This was never about me," she said. "It's about what happens to people, every day, when they're judged before they even speak, before they get to explain who they are, when someone looks at them and decides they don't belong." The room fell still. She continued, voice even, eyes locked on the camera like it was a promise. "I built the Rodas brand to stand for excellence, but excellence means nothing if it doesn't include equity. So starting today, we're making it policy." The words weren't for show, they were already in motion. "Effective immediately," she said. "Every employee across all Rodas properties, front desk to boardroom, will complete quarterly anti-bias training. Not once, not optional, ongoing." A pause. "We're also launching a guest equity division. It will oversee reports of discrimination, by staff or guests. No incident will be buried, no complaint ignored." The anchor's eyes widened slightly. "And internal staff?" Camille nodded. "Anonymous reporting lines, whistleblower protections, promotions tied to performance and behavior. If you wear our badge, you carry our values." Across social media, the live stream lit up. Leadership in action, not a response, a reform. Camille Rodas is setting a new standard. She folded her hands in her lap. "We're not doing this for optics. We're doing it because ignoring bias doesn't make it disappear. It just makes it stronger." The interviewer sat back, visibly moved. "You're using a moment of personal insult to change an entire system." Camille offered a small smile, not for the cameras, just truth. "That moment wasn't personal," she said. "It was structural, and if I have the power to change it, I will." No applause, no grand finale, just quiet clarity. Because real power doesn't yell, it doesn't seek revenge, it reforms the system, so no one has to prove they belong. If that's a future you believe in, share this story. And remember, respect is not a reward, it's the bare minimum. Ever been underestimated before anyone even knew your name? Then you understand why this story matters. Camille didn't just demand respect, she rewrote the rules so no one else would have to. No shouting, no revenge, just change. If you believe power should be used to uplift, not exclude, drop a comment below and share this story. And don't forget to subscribe Black Roots for more moments where truth stands tall and justice walks in with quiet authority.